Hello, OHBM audience. I'm Dr. Erin Quinlan, a program director at the NIH's National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health, who organized a roundtable for this year's meeting titled Navigating the Funding Landscape, International Insights for Brain Imaging Researchers. A roundtable is a more dynamic format than a traditional panel symposium. So over the next 15 minutes, I will share with you some of the content that will be discussed about funding opportunities in the US, and then introduce the individuals who will participate in the roundtable, who cover a range of academic positions from 4 different countries. This roundtable will have a particular focus on the funding opportunities and experiences relevant for early career researchers. I have no disclosures. As a program director within the National Institutes of Health, or NIH, based in the United States, I will share some NIH training funding opportunities and ways to find NIH as well as non-NIH grant funding opportunities. The NIH is the largest public funder of biomedical research in the world, investing nearly $45 billion last year towards research seeking to enhance life and reduce illness and disability. The NIH has an extensive website full of materials and guidance about the grant process and funding. So as a starting point, I encourage those of you interested in applying for grants to visit the NIH website. The NIH is committed to supporting the next generations of researchers and, importantly, to supporting a diverse biomedical research workforce. The NIH has numerous grant mechanisms ranging from undergrad and postbac levels to predoctoral, postdoctoral, and early career development and mentoring. These are just some examples of relevant grant funding mechanisms for each career stage. I also want to note the diversity supplement that currently funded NIH investigators can submit in order to fund students, postdoctorates, and eligible investigators to work on their project. The supplements must support work within the scope of the NIH-funded original project. When thinking about ideas for grants, a really useful tool NIH program officers such as myself will often direct investigators to is the NIH Reporter tool. You can search what grants have been funded in your area and potentially refine your ideas based on previously funded research. In addition to being a program officer at the National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health, I am also a program officer working within the Brain Initiative, which has many neuroscience funding opportunities, including for trainees. And for those of you not familiar, the Brain Research Through Advancing Innovative Neurotechnologies, or Brain Initiative, was announced by the White House in 2013, with first awards made in 2014. It's a partnership between 5 US federal agencies and private foundations. Some are shown at the bottom of this slide. And its mission is to revolutionize our understanding of the human brain by accelerating the development and application of innovative technologies. The Brain Initiative within the NIH consists of 10 participating institutes and centers listed here at the top. And the goal of the Brain Initiative is to develop and apply new tools for understanding how neural circuits underlie complex behaviors in health and disease by leveraging emerging technologies to enable new discoveries about neural circuit function and use these discoveries as a foundation for new therapeutic strategies for human brain disorders. Ultimately, to disseminate and democratize them for basic discovery and clinical applications. The Brain Initiative has dozens of funding opportunities related to identification of brain cells and circuits analysis, neural recording and neuromodulation, data and informatics, neuroethics related to technologies being developed, and of course, non-invasive neuroimaging. At the Brain Initiative, there are several funding opportunities in the training space. They leverage a variety of mechanisms, including general NIH training mechanisms like the Postdoctoral F32, and also targeted diversity mechanisms like our diversity supplement, which I previously mentioned, and 2 transition awards, the F99K00 and the K99R00. It's also worth mentioning that if you have an idea in mind that's more disease or specific population focused, say aging, there are non-Brain Initiative training mechanisms like the F32 and K99R00 that NIH institutes and centers support. So you could reach out to the specific institute, like the National Institute on Aging, for an opportunity that may be more aligned with your proposed project. Next, I will briefly give an overview of the F32, F99, and K99. The purpose of the postdoctoral F32 is to enhance the research training of promising postdoctorates early in their postdoctoral training period. Those who have the potential to become productive investigators in research areas that will advance the goals of the BRAIN Initiative. In order to maximize the training potential of the F32 award, this program encourages applications from individuals who have not yet completed their terminal doctoral degree and expect to do so within 12 months of the application due date. On the application due date, candidates may not have completed more than 12 months of postdoctoral training. The next due date for applications is August 9th of this year. For the F99K00, the purpose is to support a defined pathway across career stages for outstanding graduate students from diverse backgrounds, including those from groups underrepresented in biomedical and behavioral sciences. The F99K00 is intended for individuals who have demonstrated an interest in a neuroscience career in NIH Blueprint or BRAIN Initiative relevant areas. Applicants are expected to require 1 to 2 years to complete their PhD dissertation research training, that's the F99 phase, before transitioning to mentored postdoctoral research training, the K00 phase, which should not last more than 4 years. And the next applications for this grant mechanism is December 15th of this year. Finally, the purpose of the K99R00 is to enhance diversity in the neuroscience workforce and maintain a cohort of new, talented, NIH-supported independent investigators from diverse backgrounds. It is designed to facilitate a timely transition of outstanding postdoctoral researchers from mentored postdoctoral research positions to independent, tenure-track or equivalent faculty positions. This award is intended for individuals from diverse backgrounds who are working in research areas supported by the BRAIN Initiative, who have no more than 5 years of postdoctoral research experience, and who require at least 12 months of mentored research training and career development, that is the K99 phase, before transitioning to the independent research phase of the program, or the R00 phase. And the next due date for this application is October 13th of this year. And as always, we encourage potential applicants to reach out to the program officer scientific contact listed on each funding opportunity on the NIH website early, well before you're ready to submit an application. We love talking to you and hearing your ideas and help giving some guidance where appropriate, as we really want to make sure that we help you find the right home for your research ideas. In addition to the U.S. National Institutes of Health, there is also the National Science Foundation, or NSF, that supports interdisciplinary evidence-based traineeships for graduate students. The deadline for that application is September 6th, and it happens once per year. The main difference between NSF and the NIH is that NSF is not focused on health-related outcomes, but on basic sciences and engineering. If you want to search other U.S. federally funded research grant opportunities across the agencies, you can go to grants.gov and search, looking for the icon there in the upper left corner of the screen. This screenshot shows a search I did for posted grant opportunities on brain imaging and health. You can see there are at least 11 pages of related grant opportunities, including some NIH grant opportunities, including BRAIN Initiative opportunities, and Department of Defense opportunities, but there are also NSF opportunities among others. So this is a really great resource if you're not sure where to start. My co-chair for the Roundtable is an established investigator from Canada who will bring his decades of research funding experience to the Roundtable discussion. Dr. Alan Evans is a James McGill Professor of Neurology and Neurosurgery, Psychiatry and Biomedical Engineering, a researcher in the McConnell Brain Imaging Center, the co-director of the Ludmer Center for Neuroinformatics and Mental Health, and he holds the Victor Daudelet Chair in Neurosciences. We are extremely fortunate to have him participate in the Roundtable, as he is also one of the founders of the Organization for Human Brain Mapping, serving in numerous positions on the OHBM Council since 1995. I will highlight some Canadian funding opportunities, which is by no means exhaustive. Some opportunities come from the Canadian Institutes of Health Research. In addition to general funding programs for more experienced researchers, they have trainee funding programs for graduate students, including the Vanier Canada Graduate Scholarships and the Canada Graduate Scholarships. They sound similar, but are distinct opportunities, each with their own funding parameters and application deadlines. For the Canada Graduate Scholarships, Applications can be made to the Canadian Institutes of Health Research, but also the Natural Sciences and Engineering Research Council of Canada. There are also postdoctoral funding opportunities such as the Banting Postdoctoral Fellowships and the H.L. Holmes Award for Postdoctoral Studies, with varying award amounts and award durations. The Brain Canada Foundation has the Rising Stars Trainee Awards, which aim to recognize the excellent research being conducted at Canadian institutions by graduate students, postdoctoral fellows, and medical residents in all fields spanning neuroscience research. They have some travel awards for attending major international conferences or training courses, as well as several stipend awards, not all of which are listed here. A unique opportunity for trainees comes from MITAX, an organization that supports graduate students and postdoctoral researchers to learn and apply their skills and gain experience in a non-academic research environment. This Accelerate program has a student or postdoc, along with a professor and partner organization, develop a research project and potentially receive $15,000 for each 4-month internship. After having given brief overviews of American and Canadian funding opportunities that are available to the brain imaging research community, the rest of the session will be dedicated to early career researchers from 3 additional different countries who will share their experiences applying for grant funding. Then there will be a moderated Q&A session along with questions from the in-person audience. Over the next several slides, I will briefly introduce you to the 3 early career researchers. First, there is Elizabeth Levitis, who is currently a PhD candidate at University College London in the UK, as well as at the NIH's National Institute for Mental Health. The University College London has a unique, prestigious joint training program in neuroscience, where students spend approximately 50% of their time in either their UCL or NIH labs. While at NIH, Ms. Levitis has received an NIH Predoctoral Intramural Research Training Award. The roundtable participants were asked to share some lessons and tips from their experience to reflect some of the advice they might give during the roundtable Q&A. Ms. Levitis highlights some other dual institute international PhD opportunities that the NIH has, and also gives some tips for UK funding, including highlighting the UK Centre for Doctoral Training and the UK Research and Innovation Studentships for PhDs. The next roundtable participant is Dr. Ye Tian at the University of Melbourne in Australia, and she has been awarded the Mary Lugton Postdoctoral Fellowship for her project titled Characterizing Physiological Brain-Body Relationships in Mental Illness Across the Lifespan. Dr. Tian has also obtained another source of funding from the University of Melbourne, as well as from the state government of Victoria. Dr. Tian's tips, including understanding your unique strength and the most competitive part of your track record, developing a research vision that you are passionate about and that is unique to you, identifying the right scheme, if it's institution funded, philanthropic, a national scheme, or others. Use smaller grants as a stepping stone towards more competitive, bigger grants. And finally, depending on the scheme, knowing that your track record may or may not need to be in the same field as your proposed research. And finally, we have Dr. Tianye Jia, a research professor at the Institute of Science and Technology for Brain-Inspired Intelligence at Fudan University in Shanghai, China. Previously, he was a postdoc and bioinformatician at the Institute of Psychiatry, Psychology, and Neuroscience at King's College London in the UK. His current funding is an excellent young researcher grant from the National Natural Science Foundation of China for his project titled Neurobiological Bases of Human Cognitive Behavior and Mental Disorders. Dr. Jia has highlighted that China has local and national funding opportunities for young scholars, including international scholars, with overseas research experience. He notes there are some time spent overseas and age requirements, and he's provided the tip that one could start the application early before meeting the 3-year overseas requirement. And to conclude this presentation, I will highlight some of the questions that will be posed to the roundtable participants during the Q&A, questions that may help early career researchers in the audience as they navigate the funding landscape in their own country. Example questions include, how did you find the grant scheme or grant mechanism you applied for? How long did it take you to prepare your grant application? Did you contact a program officer or equivalent at the funding organization prior to applying? How much time did it take from writing the application to securing grant funding? What did you wish you knew before you applied for funding? What guidance did you receive that you would want to pass on to others? And finally, are there any resources you used during the grant writing or application process that you would recommend? So this concludes the overview of the roundtable session, Navigating the Funding Landscape, International Insights for Brain Imaging Researchers. Unfortunately, the dynamic roundtable format cannot be pre-recorded, but hopefully this presentation gives you a sense of what is covered in this roundtable session at the OHBM meeting. Thank you very much for your interest in the session, and I hope to meet many of you in Montreal in July at this year's OHBM meeting. Thank you.